as we dive into this more, week number 4, now we're talking about, what brought you in the cave. Now we're talking about coming out of this cave, even not just physically cave, but also just this mentally and emotionally and just caring. Even what I've been saying on Sunday mornings, there's a spiritual battle going on. And I hope we understand, yes, there's chemical imbalances, but yet there's lifestyle imbalances. And there's also spiritual warfare going on. I think some people just want to say, it's only this, or it's only this, or it's only this. But we just need to say, God, have your way. But I think we need to make sure that we focus on, Lord, help my imbalances, help my lifestyle imbalances, and give me wisdom in the spiritual area, and pray for this. And I find it really crazy that Elijah had one of the craziest spiritual battles when he versed the other prophets and the evil of the world. And he showed that God won this battle. He saw one of the greatest spiritual battles one day, and then the next day, in his vulnerability, we come to the story of him asking God to take his life. It just reminds us that there's a spiritual battle going on. I want to read out loud to us. There's going to be a verse at the end, too, I want us to read, but I want to read this. It says in 1 Kings 19, 5 through 8. It says, "Then he lay down under the bush and fell asleep. All at once, an angel touched him and said, 'Get up and eat.'" Here he is, taking my life. I'm no good. I'm no better than my ancestor. But he says, he looked around, and there by his head was some bread baked over hot coals and a jar of water. Can you imagine the angel feeding you? Just think about that for a second. Imagine sleeping, resting, and being woke up by an angel, and he's cooked you a meal, bread and water. He ate and drank and then lay down again, tired, just showing how exhausted he is, showing vulnerable and exhausted. The angel of the Lord came back a second time and touched him and said this, "Get up, get up. Wake up and stand up. Get moving." Like when I tell my kids in the morning, don't just wake up, get out of bed. Because if you stay in bed, you're going to fall back to sleep. Get up and eat, for the journey is too much for you. Realizing there's a journey coming. And if you don't eat and get up, it's going to be too much for you to carry. So he got up and ate and drank, strengthened by that food, and he traveled for 40 days and 40 nights until he reached the mountain of God, the mountain of the Lord. And in some translations, actually, it says it's the same mountain that God spoke to Moses on. Now think about this. In his state of depression, that he was resting, angel woke him up, said, "Eat and drink and get going for the long journey." And I kind of just tell you, sometimes when I'm talking to people and they just feel overwhelmed, a lot of anxiety, a lot of worry, just feeling overwhelmed, feeling depressed, feeling gray, one of the first things I tell people is, go for a walk. Get outside, move, breathe in some fresh air, and begin to pray. Just move. I think some of the best things we can do is practical things at the beginning. Get some rest. Get sleep. Close your eyes. You know what I'm saying? Really, when we rest, we're just giving God a center and I'm going to rest. You help me these next few hours. And eat. Eat healthy. Eat. Just begin to eat. I love the angel prepared a meal. Eat. And then he says, begin to move. Go. I think when I look at the word rest even, as he said rest, I want to, that Sunday morning I dove more into this, but I want to say this again. Let's be a reminder. We like to relax, but we need to learn how to rest. so many people don't honor the Sabbath. It's just like, do more, do more, do more, do more. But we like to just relax, but we need to learn how to rest our bodies, to rest our minds and our spirits, to fill our tanks. And then we'll go into this move thing. I'll just say this. The next step for you probably is another step. Just take a step. Begin to move. Take some steps. Walk every day. Do something. Get some exercise. And I love, we're going to go to this clip, and I love what they say just about these areas. And so I hope you enjoy this, and I hope you just think this through and start thinking through in your own mind about your own rest habits, your own eating habits, and your own moving habits as we work through this series. Welcome back, week number 4 of our Out of the Cave, and now we go into a new area where we've been talking about Elijah being in the cave, what got him into the cave. Now we're talking about getting out of the cave, what steps we got to take, and today we're talking about just movement more than anything else, taking some health steps, because sometimes when you're in that cave, and I want them to share more than me, but you just got to have, I heard it said, it's even slow motion is good motion, like just doing something. So share with us your thoughts of just stepping out and doing that, doing something, get moving. How does that look?
We were just talking about isolation a few days ago.
Yeah.
Weeks ago.
Yeah.
But it's really interesting. I'm working with somebody that is so stuck, kind of isolated, disconnected from people. And we start identifying some things that they might have some interests in, or a place they'd like to go. Like a small step would be even just getting in their car or going outside and going to the place and going back home.
Wow.
That small can be very powerful.
Yeah.
And it, doing that a few times, and then it can become, now I'm going to walk up to the door. And it's really interesting how you sometimes think like, well, this sounds really, let's plan on this. Yeah, that sounds really good. And they'll leave my office or whatever and come back and like, yeah, I didn't do it.
Yeah.
Because the step was too big.
Just too big, yeah.
And I think that's something we all need to remember is if we didn't, do the thing that we came up with to help ourselves, we might want to knock it back. Hey, what's even something smaller that would lead to that? And you'll get there. And
I like what you're saying, because you're saying go someplace, because like we were just talking about before, like changing your thinking, but you got to change, how to get there too. Like, sometimes it's a physical, not just thinking differently, but physically moving changes, moving that way. So that's really good. So,
physical or spiritual beings trapped in a physical body.
Yeah.
Exactly. And sometimes if you have severe depression, it's just getting out of bed. I mean, that's the step. Can you get out of bed?
Get dressed.
Yeah. Take a shower. Those basics. We were created for functionality. We were created to do these things. And I was listening to a really good psychiatrist today. I really appreciate his wisdom. And he talks, like, some people have chemical imbalances, and there's things we can do with that. There's things that can help with that. But some people just have a dysfunctional life. And so with those things, it might have nothing to do with chemistry, and chemistry might not help it. It's those simple steps of improving your life. And so you might not be able to get friends right away, but thinking about and planning, how would you approach the friends? And like you said, just those baby steps, one step in the right direction, next step, and then it just builds on each other. You can start living the life how you were designed, because when you live how you were designed to live, things go much better.
I was meeting with somebody who was battling depression, and listen, I'm not a therapist, so I'm like,
but you are a pastor.
Yeah, I'm a pastor. So I always tell people, I can meet with you a few times, but I'm going to recommend there's a deeper level, and I can't. That's really good to see a therapist. But one of the things I said right away is, like, I always encourage, like, go for a walk outside, pray. I think the fresh air is good. I think movement is good. Speaking to the Lord is good. So talk through a little bit how even our physical, just being a little bit more active helps with that mental picture of dealing with stuff.
It's interesting you said that, because there's scientific studies showing just being outside in nature especially lowers your blood pressure. So we have this physiological calming that happens when we place ourselves out into those environments. And if you combine that with movement, it's all the more powerful. In fact, I tell people that if you have a big test coming up or a presentation at work, or say giving a video chat or something, you want to do some cardiovascular exercise before it, because then you're prime. You're giving your brain all the power it can have. It gives you peace and calm and clarity, and makes everything that much easier.
And that cycles right back, to sleep, which sets us up for the next day. Because when we get exercise, even when we stand outside in the light of the sun for, a few minutes in the morning, it literally sets your melatonin and how your body is going to function for the rest of the day, so that when you get to the end of the day, your brain is going, oh yeah, it was, morning at that point. So that means I need to start producing the melatonin at this point. So now I can go to sleep and restore. It's powerful.
And like you said, exercise helps you sleep better that evening. Just don't do it right before bed, because that's too activating.
Yeah, that would be good.
But that's, as therapists living in northern climates, we get busier in the winter. It's hard to not be isolated from the outdoors.
But like what you're saying about the sun, how it rejuvenates you. Like, think about, I'm not saying it's everybody, but look at me. Like, my wife and I get home, and one of the first things we do, if it's nothing on our calendar, we just put our pajamas on, put our sweats on. But it sends you in a different mindset, a relaxing mindset. Yeah. But if you wake up and don't change into normal clothes, you kind of just stay in that mindset of just chill. You know what I'm saying? You're not taking a shower. You're not, like you guys were talking about. I remember you talking, having coffee with you, Joe, and you were saying, like, even before an important meeting, talking to your spouse, you get your heart rate up, because your brain functions differently.
And certain events or conversations, like with your spouse, deserves your best. And you want to give your best. And so you want to be rested, and you want to have some exercise. You want to eat well that day. Yeah. Be outside, get some sun, and then you'll be able to give the best part of you and be fully functional.
After I heard that conversation with you, what's interesting is I changed something in I always like to bike in the morning.
Yeah.
And I always did my devotions first, listen to worship music first. And as I started doing biking first, and it changed up my devotional life completely.
Yeah.
Now you're more awake.
I'm way more awake. So when I'm reading, I actually listen to scripture as I'm biking, and I'm like being way more aware, because my heart rate's getting up. I'm more, the Bible's more life to me because I'm more awake.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're giving God your best part that way.
Yeah. Isn't it interesting? So thank you guys so much. That was so good. And so love it.